Welcome everybody to another great episode of Real Life Matters. But this is the RLM Wealth Tip with Daniel Peachy Chin section today. So segment, and he's going to be doing that today. So we're going to be picking his brain, and I also have some questions that were sent in from a couple of people that wanted to ask him certain questions. So without any further ado, I will going to introduce to you Daniel Chin.
Good afternoon, the boss. How are you? And
I'm
hi,
good.
everyone.
I'm good. I tell
Yes,
you,
to your
man,
audience.
we got time now to sit home and think about more things to do because of this lockdown
Yep,
order.
28 days, and it will pass by very quickly.
Well, today we're going to talk about. Yep, you got your old Tim Hortons cup. Tim Hortons, you got to pay us.
Yes, for advertising all over the curve.
That's for people that don't know. Tim Hortons is a big brand that everybody gets coffee.
I believe they're in America as well.
They are, right?
Yep.
Okay. No, that's good that they're there. But anyways, we're going to be talking today about, of course, investments. And we're going to list out all the risks, and let's all the risks to investments. And Daniel Chin is going to brainstorm. Of course, I got some questions from some people that sent in some questions and stuff like that so we're going to pick your brain today, Daniel.
Well, pick as much as possible, the boss. They only can get it for free in this interview. Because I charge for consultation.
Oh, okay. You charge for consultation, and if you want to hire him for speaking engagements, you can also do that.
Yeah.
But anyways, the first question is coming from Brian. Mm-hmm. And Brian wants to know how can people deal with losing money on a deal or an investment? Like, suppose they went in already, they invest, and then they're like, oh my, and then you come to them and tell them, you lost money.
So what I find, the boss, is when you're ready, got yourself into the whole mess, and you are just in a money pit, or you are just losing money by the month if it's real estate, and you have to carry the cost of monthly mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and the utilities. If a property is just still not completed in renovation and you're losing money, the difficult thing for all business entrepreneurs or even investors is to be able to pull the plug and to take a small loss and make it back up in the next deal. And when you have invested a lot of time, energy, effort, I get it, and it's like it's your baby, but if it's not going anywhere and it's going to be a failed venture or investment, then you have to really see it for yourself to just to absorb the loss, absorb the failure, learn greatly from it, and do better in the next deal.
So Brian wants to know also and Brian, we know you're watching because you're going to want to ask. So he wanted to know, like, okay, you have a property, everybody gets excited because maybe they bought a property that they can renovate, do the renovations. So he wants to know, how do you, because sometimes all contractors sometimes are not up to snuff, and they're not up to, some of them are not legit. Some of them take your money and then they run off, maybe to the Caribbean or somewhere with your money. So how would you advise somebody how to do that when they get their property?
When such that they avoid those mistakes?
Yeah. Like suppose they gave the money to the contractor. Suppose the renovations are maybe 80,000 or 90,000. So how do you suggest them to, like, if they have their money and stuff invested, how would you tell them on how not to give all the money, or what to do, how to tell these people? Because sometimes people give their money for their renovations, which and then next now here the contractor never shows up. He's gone somewhere.
Yep. So it happens all the time. I experienced it very early on when I started doing renovation, and it's a lot of the, let's just say, the crap, and lost all the money. And what the lesson learned is, it makes a big difference when you deal with a good contractor versus a bad contractor, and you have to make that, so go with your intuition. Like what I wrote in the Manifested Millionaire book is, you have to know to yourself, is that person has integrity? What's the person's track record? And is that someone who would genuinely do the right thing and do good work for you? So if that person, you can smell it, it's a bit fishy, and the person is gonna stiff you. And because I can tell you, some of these contractors, they talk really nice, all nice in the beginning, but when it comes times to following through with what they gotta do, not everyone does what they say they will do, the boss. So 2 weeks later, you might still be hoping and praying that the contractor is gonna come back, but I wouldn't bet.
Or hire Daniel Chin Properties to do it for you.
You can hire, yep, you can hire me as well, but you have to be careful. And what I always say, if you know what you're doing, you'll make money in the business. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll lose money in the business. And always deal with the right people.
Okay, so like for people that are new investors, because Brian, because he wants to invest, he said, because he's heard so many people these guys just come in, they say they know how to do, okay, they come in and then they do part, the floor is partly finished and some of it's not. And then of course you're waiting for your investment and your stuff. And then the guys don't even show up to finish the part that they were supposed to finish in the first place. So how do you I know it's crazy, because people do that. It's very bad.
Yep. So the three things, screening questions which you must always ask is the person competent? Is the person reliable? Is the person honest? And if it ticks all those three boxes, then likely it could be a good person to work with. And of course, get a feel out of the person when you meet them, and be able to get a sense, is this someone who you can work with? If you can't work with the person, or you think, and you only need one red flag to know it's a no. And always put everything in writing, which I wrote in the Manifested Millionaire book. I had a good friend called me this morning, and she called me, and coincidentally, she spoke about that chapter being the most powerful. Put everything in writing. So you got to have an actual contract done properly with the contractor, because if anything happens, that is going to stand up in court when so
in
front of the
make a
judge.
contract. So the key word is make a contract, because some people just go, yeah, okay, I'll get you to fix it, I know you. And
well,
then you got to gather by your property every minute looking and saying, well, how come the bricks aren't up? How come this
the writing, everything in writing is going to save you behind Brian. So Brian, put everything in writing. And if you don't know anybody when you're getting started, or trying to dive in 2 feet in a renovation, you call the boss, and the boss knows everybody.
I'll hook you up to Daniel Chin.
Watch Real Life Matters, and you'll get the right connections.
All right. So we're just going to take a brief break, and I'm going to come back with the next question from Gonzalez. So we'll be right back. Welcome to Real Life Matters. I'm your host, D-Boss. Real Life Matters is a power-packed, inspired program that brings you real people with real matters. If you are a company, brand, or artist, we will take you to the next level. Watch Real Life Matters Monday to Friday right here.
Looking for a TV show that brings you a raw, uncut, unbiased opinion? What about a show providing a platform to tell us about your business or talent? Tune in to Talk It Out, Monday through Friday, hosted by Chill of Come Clean Empire and his co-host, D-Boss, where we bring you not just a TV show, but a TV experience.
We have an amazing guest for you today, Nurse Sandra Lindsay, the first woman and first person to receive the COVID-19 vaccine in the Americas. So our first question, I really want to know, what was your motivation to become a nurse in the first place?
One of the popular essay questions in Common Entrance back then is, what would you like to be when you grow up?
Yes.
I said, well, I want to be the nurse.
To save $1 million, you first need to change your mindset from a spending mentality to a saving mentality.
It can be pretty easy to spend money and kind of hard to save it. It should be the other way around.
Yeah, but first you need that money, Austin.
Okay, well, maybe you have an allowance. Maybe your Aunt Patricia gives you money sometimes. Maybe you have a job.
I work at Pizza Burger.
Oh, very cool. French fries. Your next step is to open up a separate account with no connection to a debit card.
Why?
Oh, well, it makes it slightly harder to spend money.
Amisha, is there any merit to the thought process of people who feel like Larry Klayman? And how do you push the 1619 project where it doesn't appear as though it's geared toward white people, that they're all a racist and we need to have this revisionist history?
Well, Armstrong, the 1619 project is geared toward the history of this country in its full array. What we've learned throughout our education systems in America.
It's been exactly a year since Jamaica announced its first confirmed case of COVID-19, and it's also the day that Jamaica begins its vaccination program.
Public health nurse Marcia Thomas Yetman in a cheerful mood after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine at the Good Samaritan Inn in Kingston on Wednesday morning. Mrs. Thomas Yetman went down in the history books as the first Jamaican to receive the jab.
We're back with Daniel Chin, RLM Wealth Tips. And I'm telling you, these few segments that we've been doing, if people have missed them, go back, watch, because they're excellent tips for people to know if they want to get a property and invest, and they're their first-time investors. And you're speaking to someone who is a millionaire right now. So Gonzalez said he wanted to ask, he has a couple questions, but he said, how do you get to be a millionaire like you?
So first, buy a copy of The Manifested Millionaire if you haven't already. The book is really, my story. It was really, 18 years ago, came to Canada and, trying to figure out, okay, how do you, was failing at school and, thought that I couldn't really make it. And of course, when reading other successful entrepreneurs who were dropouts and and the struggles that they went through, and there was actually a lot more to life. I didn't realize until in my later years that I was actually an entrepreneur, the boss. And of course, it is not easy. It's one of the toughest things you will ever go through in your life that will challenge you and really test your character, in the good and the bad times. And of course, how do you really survive, strive, and how do you persevere? So after, now 10 years later, being able to do what I do, I wanted to share my story to help others. And that's why I wrote The Manifested Millionaire. But to answer Gonzalez's question, you have to start thinking like that it is possible. And you have to believe that you can actually do it because it has already been done by other people. It's not rocket science. It is, you just, all the ingredients of success is pretty much hard work. Be passionate about what it is you're doing. Absolutely believe in it. Don't ever give up. And, make sure whatever you decide that you want to do, you have to be 100% committed, because it's gonna get tough. There are gonna be some rainy days. So you have to first start thinking like a millionaire. And if you don't know where to start, how I started was I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and of course The Millionaire Real Estate Investor from Gary Keller, which gave me a bit of a foundation in real estate investing. So those are some of the things that can help you, Gonzalez.
All right. So Gonzalez wants to ask a question about what kind of contingency plan when you have a property and you renovated the property based on tenants moved in, like maybe a family member or somebody moving into the property, and everything was based on the tenants moving in, and then all of a sudden the person says they come to see the property, they're supposed to move in, and everything's relying on them with that property, and they go, oh, you know what, I didn't like how the place was set up, and then boom, they're out. They're not going to rent the property anymore. So what would somebody, what kind of exit strategy, because they're basing their investment property on the person that's coming, that's going to be renting in there. So they want to know what to do. And if that happens, do they sell? What do they do?
Right. So it does sound like a rent to own real estate investing strategy where, there's two approaches. You can find a tenant first or find a property first or find a tenant first. And then it is like a lease to own option where the tenant rents and they have the option to purchase, 2-3 years down the road, and everything is stipulated and the price is predetermined in the rent to own contract. So if that is a strategy, if I'm correct, right, it goes back to the principle knowing everything about your real estate market before you invest, and of course knowing who the tenant is and what kind of property that will be ideal or desirable for that particular tenant, where they'll be renting that single family home, and what are some of the things that is important to them. So some of the factors would be having a nice lawn near the schools in a family friendly neighborhood, and of course a driveway for parking, and all of those important things that will cause a tenant to rent. And of course, everything else is all preference inside the property. If it's the color of the wall, they like the blue, they like the green or the pink, right? But have it standard, either light gray or I heard Dove white is a popular color now when I was in the paint store yesterday. But now it's all curbside pickup effective of today. So it's knowing all those.
You know how you feel if it's a family member. You sure?
It's what's important to the family. So to answer your question, Gonzalez, always put yourself in the tenant's shoes, and you will find answers to all your questions when it comes to design and renovation, because you aren't paying the rent. It's the tenants who are paying the rent, and they are the paying customers. So make sure they're extremely happy. You got to satisfy them.
He's asking me in my ear. He goes, what about what about an AR&B? Those things. What do you think about that?
So Airbnb is a different, that falls under all the company policies with Airbnb, and it's like short-term rentals. If that's the game Gonzalez wants to play, the short-term game, where these rooms are rented on the weekends, by the day, or, etc. But it's a contract between you and Airbnb. That is the middle person who rent out these places, and they just take the percent off the top and you get the rest, and they are able to have real estate rentals without even owning real estate. And of course it's $1 billion business, but your signed contract is not enforceable through the landlord tenant board in the event that a tenant misbehaves or violates any residential tenancies in the act. Then you would have to, it doesn't fall within the landlord tenant board rules.
Okay.
So something to think about if you want to go Airbnb, or you want to just do a rental.
Well, would you do it? Would you do an Airbnb or not really?
So I've never done Airbnb, but I have had friends who have done it, and I can tell you, in previous years around December, January, when they had vacancies and no one was renting, in those periods, that is zero rental income. So I like the long-term tenancy where they, rent for 12 months and you have rental income coming in every month on the first day for 12 months, and then they renew, because all of my, residents, they renew 99.99% of the time for another 12 months in year 2 and also in year 3. So that is stable rental income, and that's going to help you through the COVID-19 times, Gonzalez.
Well, when we come back, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to come back and get some questions from Suzette. She has something she wants to ask you. So we'll be right back.
We've all encountered a boy who was a bit more effeminate and dainty than the average boy. We've all at some point met a girl who was a bit more butch, who walked, talked, and dressed just a little bit more like Steve than Eve. Does this mean that he or she has a greater tendency to become a homosexual? Many parents whose children have turned out to be gay admit that their children display signs of gender non-conformity before the age of 10.
One more. So 3 heaping tablespoons of tomato paste. We're gonna go in with our chicken. There you go. So you want to give this a good mix now. Make sure your cabbage is coated with everything.
I'm John Franklin, CEO of the World Pro Ski Tour and Ski Racing Media, and we're here in Howson Hill for the opening races of the World Pro Ski Tour. This year it's been a little different. Normally we are open and racing by December, but this year with COVID, we've had to jump through a lot of hoops, create COVID protocols, operate in a bubble. We're at Howson Hill to start our season. Howson Hill is actually the oldest operating ski area in America.
I'm putting in a drizzle of oil. When the oil heats up, add in the onion. Once it's tender, add in the pepper and the garlic. Next, I'm gonna add in the scallions, the curry powder, and the jeera powder, then the green seasoning.
Girl, let me wine on you. Girl, let me wine on you. Let me wine on you. Yeah, I'm catching fever, a fever, running on you. Don't wear your body and coiling, girl. I'm not toying with you. I'm a believer, receiver, taking from you. Here's what I wanna do. Girl, let me wine on you. Let me wine on you. Girl, let me wine on you. Push back and let me wine on you.
Well, we're back here. We ain't be doing no whining on anything.
I gotta get the name of that song, the boss.
It sounds good, though.
It's really good, you know.
It's really good. I want to put it on too. Oh God! But anyways, I'm telling you, we're back here with Daniel Chin, and I'm telling you, we are doing it here today. These people just, have been flooded in with these questions. So now we have Suzette. Now I know Daniel's gonna like this question because this is how he does his investments. So Suzette wants to know that she wants to invest some properties in an area, but you don't know the neighborhood, and like how would I know if this is a good like a high turnover rate or a good area to rent? And you'll always have renters in that neighborhood. How would you know that?
Yes, so very simple, the boss. Most people, when they want to invest in an area, they do not go to the area and drive around and look around. They just do their research on Google, on the internet, and think they really know. However, I always say real estate is very local. So Suzanne should actually go to the area, drive around, walk up and down different streets and talk to the people. And you will get that information to know what are the rents and what type of renters are in the area, how desirable, how attractive, and if there's high rental demand, and if there's opportunity to invest.
All right. So what if you go into the area she was asking, and you go into the area and you see a lot of properties that are boarded up? What runs through your mind then? Because when people see that.
So the first thing that runs through my mind is, why is it boarded up? And is there opportunity in this street where there's a lot of boarded up properties? And what is the future plans for that street? So I can tell you, for example, where I'm situated, I'm not sure if Suzanne is international or in Canada.
She's in Canada.
In Canada. So in Hamilton, Ontario, Suzanne, in downtown Hamilton, where the new GO train station, West Harbour GO train station, where the city spent $50 million to build that before the Pan Am Games, and it opened and was operational July 9th, 2015. I remember the date like yesterday. Is prior to 2015, on that whole street of James Street North, all those properties was boarded up, and it was rough. If you look at it today, it's vibrant, lots of new stores, a bit more dispensaries that open up, but you have more restaurants, and it is, eating places going more north to the waterfront. That's $142 million redevelopment. So and as a result, when the new GO train station opened 2015, all property prices, it doubled from 200 to 400 something thousand. And I can tell you today in 2021, they're all around $750,000 to 800,000. So if you ask the question, the next time you see properties that are boarded up, why is it boarded up? Is it an up and coming area? Does the city have future plans to revitalize the area? Is it in a phase of regentrification? And all of that information you can find out from the city hall, or actually just walking down the street and talking to anybody that you see and say, hi, my name is Susan, and I'm looking at this area. I'm very interested. And how long have these properties been boarded up? If it has been boarded up for the past 40 years, then it will be a ghost town for the next 50 years.
Oh. Yeah, because a lot of people probably think, oh, these properties are boarded up. Oh, I want to get in there. So I guess the first step is, like you said, is to go down to the city.
Yep. And usually, go on.
Go ahead.
Yep. And usually when a big developer comes in the area and does a big project in a couple millions, if not 100 million, then that is a sign that, okay, this place, something's going to happen, something's going to boom. And as prices rise, because what I can tell you in that same example with James Street North in downtown Hamilton, as property was going up, property values, then more people jumped on the bandwagon. New businesses opened location, these mom and pop stores, and it became more vibrant, more desirable. And then, lots of life on that street. So see the signs before it happens. That's where you get the much higher level of returns on your investment compared to the ones who jump on the bandwagon in the later years.
So what you're telling people is they got to really get out there and get in the car and get out there and look and ask questions. You got to do the footwork.
And you would be amazed, the boss, when people just cold call me and they say, what do you think about this property and all these different real estate markets? And then I would say, have you actually drove there and look at the property? And they would say, no. They just saw it on the internet. Unbelievable. If you're putting substantial money in an investment, at least go in person, look at the property, touch it and see if the door is still solid or if it's gonna just, fall down. Yep.
Wow. Well, that's something. So I have another one question came in from Ted. He wanted to know what directions are rents, are they trending? Are they accelerating? Are they decelerating? What do you think?
In these recent times?
Yes.
And his name is Ted?
Ted.
So So after the disruption of the whole coronavirus in the past 12 months, since it was announced March 2020, it certainly disrupted, yes, the hotel business and all these other, and retail, and of course, yes, in real estate. So the trends that you are seeing, if it is the retail or commercial real estate, is they are um, they're adjusting more to drive-throughs and takeouts, as you have seen in Starbucks, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and other locations where it just doesn't make sense. I have actually witnessed some Tim Hortons location close down. So companies are readjusting in terms of the hotels, what some of them are doing, because it is like a short-term rental where you are just getting charged on a credit card for renting a night or a weekend if you're spending a weekend with a loved one. And, but in these times, it have been brutally decimated, the boss. So some of the hotels, they have turned some of the hotel rooms into residential apartments that have more stable long-term income, right, for the purpose of sustainability and surviving in the business. Because as you and I know, it's going to be like this for another few years, until I would say end of 2022 or beginning 2023, when we start to see a bit more of normalcy. So businesses have been adjusting. Those are some of the trends. And in the current times now, due to very low interest rates, low inventory, and pent-up demand, it's crazy that you would even see in Canada and Ontario in particular, for your audience who lives in Ontario, that property prices are going above asking. I've heard anywhere from more than 300,000 above asking in Toronto. So those are the trends that that are happening, and it is, and hopefully that information will help you to have a more informed decision in investing.
And and Ted wants to know, what about the 2% rule on investment?
2%?
There's a rule that's 2%.
Is he talking 2% of the actual
investing
purchase?
In neighborhoods that are too low end?
Too low end?
There's a 2%. Yeah, there's a 2% rule in investment neighborhoods that are too low end. If the rent, the low prices and high rents are good combination, but he's saying, but be careful of the 2% rule in investing in any neighborhoods that are too low end.
That are too low end. So I think what he may be, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, right, Ted, the 2%, what I think you're talking about is when you're doing a quick analysis on the properties, 2% of the purchase price should be the total rental income. And then you can do just a rough calculation if the property will cash flow make sense. Now, you did mention on the lower end of the neighborhoods. Of course, yes, you do what you can do with regards to prices when investing in real estate, but focus more on, like I say, good property in good locations is less stress, less headaches. Good properties in bad location is more stress and more headaches. And in these given times, buy good properties in good locations where there's strong demand and strong growth, and you'll do very well over the next coming years, Ted. So the 2% rule, I would say numbers should be second. Number one should be, what can you really do with the property? And is it a valuable long-term hold, given some of the things I've said in the previous episodes of RLM Well Tips, to determine if the investment is profitable and if it is something that you can hold for a long time. As mentioned, take care of your investments will take care of you. So it's a lot of due diligence and careful analysis when assessing the risk and the profitability in these investment properties.
Okay. Well, we got another question here from Barbara. Barbara wants to know. Barbara wants to know, what are the two reliable sources of funding beyond my first choice for funding?
Beyond your first choice. So in the whole mortgage world, there is the A lenders. If Barbara is in Canada, there's the big six banks: Scotia, TD, RBC, CIBC, National, BMO, and then there's the B lenders like MCAP, Street Capital, Home Capital, Equitable, B2B, Laurentian Bank. All these B lenders that are willing to take a bit more risk, but you will be paying a slightly higher interest rate. So if you have excellent credit, Barbara, you excellent credit score of 800 something, and you can get about a 1.75 1.8%. let's say. For a B, you might have to pay about let's say in the 2 or 3% range. And then you have the private lenders, who are the killers. Like I say, that's the expensive money, where they will lend you the money, but they will have to hold some collateral, and hold some sort of collateral, and which basically means hold you by the neck, and you'll be paying interest rates about 10, 11, 12%. But always try to shoot for the best with the big six, then the B lenders, and then you can go private, borrow private money if the deal makes sense. But I do caution that you have to make sure that you can be able to repay the money on the exit if it's a short-term 6 months loan, or 12 months or 2 years.
Okay, so Barbara said she's a newbie. So what should newbies know about financing investment properties versus homes? Versus home, if they're doing for investment versus a home. I guess it's their own
investment
home.
Right. So so the one thing that pops in my mind, Barbara, is in the first 5 years, because in my first rental property, where I put a 5% down payment, and it was 167,000. It's in the chapter Take Risk, a lot of them, in chapter 3 or 4, the Manifested Millionaire book. Barbara, when I really saw 5 years later how a 5% down translates to, tell you, more of the mortgage payment was paid in interest to the banks, and too much with the equity, the principal of the mortgage, which means the equity of the property. However, right, given that I have selected a good property in a good location, 5 years later, the property was from 167,000. It was refinanced at 400,000. So that was still a good deal. But it's important that I always tell everyone, if you can do 20% down payment, then that's better. More money in your pockets versus the bank pockets over the next 5 years in your amortization schedule. So the financing, that's a really great question, Barbara. I love it, because the financing is actually one of the keys to how you structure the deal and that can make a big difference in your cash flow numbers when you're projecting or your bottom line total returns on your investment over a 5-year holding period. So very good question, Barbara.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. I'm telling you, people out there, Daniel did not know what these people were calling in to ask. And when they ask the questions, so I'm telling you, he's on his game. So, what's what I tell you, Daniel eats, dreams, this is what he does. And for him to answer everybody's question to the knowledge of their question.
And one thing I may add, and one thing I may add, the boss for Barbara is, at least deal with the right mortgage broker, because that person will work in your best interest and, structure the deal properly for you. Because the first deal, given it's structured properly, that will enable you to get a second property and a third. So dealing with the right people is extremely important. And if you don't know anyone, Barbara, then call the boss. She knows everybody. Or just watch Real Life Matters and you'll be around the right people.
Well, Daniel, and also get, if you guys want to know really in depth, purchased Daniel's book, he can show it up to you, and he
thank
can
you.
tell you. Yeah, there he is. And he can tell you where
I was much younger. I was much more younger in the book cover, the boss.
Well, we know. But, you know, he gave some really good tips today for wealth and, you know, a lot of people. So where can people find you if they want to reach you out, they want to get your book? You know, just tell us so that people will know. It's not just investing in Ontario. You know, the general principles, those rules apply everywhere, correct?
Yep, absolutely. DanielPChin.com. It's, you know, simply my name as, you know, Daniel P. Chin, as you see, you know, on the screen, .com, and you'll find me. Or just contact the boss and, you know, you'll find me.
Or go to Trinidad.
Yeah.
Or go to TNT.
Yep.
All right, so everybody, I do want to thank everybody for watching RLM Wealth Tips. We gave you a lot of tips today. We gave you some extra tips in this segment. So, you know, I hope everybody takes them, understands. And if they don't fully understand, then they can reach out to Daniel Chin. So I just want to thank all the viewers. Follow us out there. Follow Daniel. You know, you can see on the screen here, so you could follow us. So anyways, I want to thank Daniel for giving some tips and be expecting some more from him. So everybody, bye for now.